A game of pass the parcel. That's how the Bank of England's chief economist described the current state of the UK market, stating that not everyone is ready to carry the burden of rising costs.
In the UK, someone needs to accept that they're worse off and stop trying to maintain their real spending power by bidding up prices, whether higher wages or passing the energy costs through on to customers. Instead, people try and pass that cost on to one of our compatriots, saying, "We'll be all right, but they will have to take our share too." That pass the parcel game that's going on here. That game is generating inflation, and that part of inflation can persist.
The economist's warnings come as large corporations in the UK, such as PepsiCo and McDonald's, report increased revenues due to higher prices. However, UK trade unions say this is nothing more than pure greed, adding that corporations are the ones driving up inflation as they raise prices beyond reasonable costs. In the meantime, ordinary UK households have come under pressure as prices for groceries have soared at the highest annual rate in 46 years. UK unions say these are just some of the reasons why more than 100,000 civil service workers plan to go on strike on April 28th. Well, let's discuss this further with Joti Brar, Vice Chair of the Communist Party of Great Britain, joining us from Bristol. Many thanks for joining us today. It's good to see you. I'd like to ask what you make of these warnings made by Mr. Pill. Is this really a game of pass the parcel?
I think actually Mr. Pill has summed up the class war very neatly. You know, what he's saying is the workers should understand it's their job to bear the brunt of the crisis, although the crisis was not of their making, because the important thing, the paramount thing, is that the profits of the capitalists should remain high. And the reality is it's not workers' wages which cause inflation. It's actually it's money printing and all kinds of things that the capitalists have been doing which have caused inflation. What higher wages, higher wages do is reduce what's there for the capitalists to take as profit. And that's the proportion changes inversely. So the more that goes to workers in wages, the less that goes to capitalists in profit. And what the Mr. Pill at the Bank of England is saying, we need to keep our profits high, so you guys have to accept constantly decreasing wages.
Trade unions have accused big corporations of, quote, greedflation. Is that a word you'd use?
Certainly there's an aspect of the crisis which is to do with price gouging, which monopolies engage in because they can fix the market. They do everything they can to do that. Fundamentally, you know, the problem is capitalism.
Why is it that big corporations they continue to get richer while ordinary households are facing bills they just cannot afford? Is there no limit to shareholder profits and greed?
Absolutely not. No, that's the nature of capital. Capital goes for the highest profit it possibly can. And the thing about the monopoly corporations is they control the government, and that means they really control the treasury. So what we see a lot of is, in order to keep the profits boosted for the monopolies, we are giving them public subsidies constantly. If you look at arms for Ukraine, it's a limitless subsidy to the arms monopolies. Look at the energy price cap. It's a limitless subsidy to the energy companies. So everywhere you look, there are monopolies who are being subsidized so that their profits stay high. In the meantime, the workers are being told, we can't afford to give you a pay rise.
The spikes in prices in the UK have often been blamed on Moscow. In your opinion, is Russia really responsible, or are there other factors at play here?
It's a farcical thing to state, isn't it? What is clear is when British and American imperialism tried to use their financial muscle to crush Russia, they wanted to bring about regime change in Russia by using these economic weapons. They thought they would suffer a few weeks short-term gain, and then Russia would fall and they would have an orgy of looting of Russia's resources that would pay them back in multiple times over for the short-term pain. It didn't work out like that. Russia hasn't collapsed, and therefore the sanctions that they've put on Russia have totally boomeranged onto our economy. And yes, it is one of the factors that's leading to the inflation. It's totally self-imposed, and it could be ended tomorrow.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand that more than 100,000 unionised civil service workers in the UK have announced they will go on strike. What consequences will that have on the country?
I guess we'll have to wait and see. It's very hard to know in advance. What one hopes is that they're really prepared to have a strike that keeps going and does have a huge impact, because, of course, the media and the politicians will constantly harass workers that if you go on strike, it's inconvenient to other workers and they won't be able to get their benefits, or they won't be able to get to the, to the shops, or they won't be able to access their healthcare, or whatever it might be. But of course, the reality is that if the people who work to provide all our services aren't paid properly and aren't resourced properly, they can't deliver a decent service to us. So it's in all of our interests that wages should be better, conditions should be better in the public service, and everybody's wages across the board are clearly falling so far behind inflation that people just can't survive on it.
Thanks so much for speaking to us this evening. Really appreciate your time. Joti Brar, Vice Chair of the Communist Party of Great Britain in Bristol. Thank you.
Thank you.